If you're watching these videos and you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed by all the technicalities and you're like, holy crap, I don't know what a deltoid is and I don't know what a macro is even, don't worry about it.
Don't you want to look good naked?
That is not, those things are things that you will learn over time if you want to, but there's a lot of specifics and nerdy stuff that I like to nerd out on and that I like to educate myself on so that I can know more of the deeper understanding of that. And then that allows me to, when it comes to exercise, knowing the different anatomy of the muscle, knowing where an exercise is the hardest, knowing the resistance profile of an exercise, or if you're working your muscle in a shortened or lengthened range. Like, you don't need to know any of that. But I want to know that because that helps me to program your workouts more efficiently so that you're doing the least amount of work in the gym and getting the most reward out of it. Because I spent lots of years not understanding what I was doing. I was doing lots of redundant exercises because I didn't understand what the different areas of the muscles those exercises were working. I was doing a lot of repetitive stuff. I wasn't focusing on the main drivers that will really determine that muscle growth, which will lead to the body composition that you want. So for me, I like to nerd out on that, but that doesn't mean that you have to understand all these technical terms. That's just, me being able to take all of that, right? All of the things that I like to nerd out on and I like to educate and continue to educate myself on and put that into basically just becoming a better coach for you so that you can get the most out of your training in the most efficient way possible from both a training perspective and then also from the nutrition side of things. There's a lot there, right? There's a lot on the macros, on the protein, like why it matters, whatever type of diet you're trying to follow, or, should you even be focused on the type of diet? Should you just be focused on what's working for you while also keeping in mind protein, because that's super important. But those are the things that I like to nerd out on and geek out on because I've been doing this for a long time. And so I think that it's really important that my clients are educated. And that's what I say, from the get-go, whenever I start working with somebody, whether it's a one-on-one client or a FlexFam member, it's like, please ask me questions. Like, I can't read your mind. I want to help you, but you need to communicate with me so that I understand what you're struggling with and what you want to know. And sometimes you might fall down the rabbit hole with me where you're like, oh, wow, that's really interesting about that resistance profile thing. Like, what are you talking about? And so my job is to break it down and educate you and help you to understand that a little bit more so that if you are interested in that, you can apply that to your training or your nutrition, whatever it is. But my goal is to really meet you where you're at and focus on doing as little as possible to get to the end goal, in the sense of being as efficient as possible from both a nutrition and a training standpoint. And as I continue to learn, as I continue to nerd out on all the sciencey stuff, that helps me to see what the most important thing is for that, right? And it allows me to kind of unpack, okay, this matters, but maybe this matters a little bit more, but does it matter to you? Maybe, maybe not. And so just distinguishing between those things and how I can help you in terms of not just telling you what to do, because that's another thing. Like, I'm not just gonna say, hey, go do this or eat this meal plan, because I don't think that that's gonna be helpful for you down the line. Because if you go eat a meal plan, but you don't understand the foods that you're eating, you don't understand the composition of your foods, how are you gonna know, when you go back into the real world and start eating real food again and you're not following some specific meal plan? You have to be educated on the amount that you're eating in terms of your protein and your carbs and fats, or what are those foods even made of, right? So I think being educated to the point where you can sustain your results is very important, not being overwhelmed by all the kind of technical things. So that's really my goal, is to just kind of bridge that gap and give you the nerdy stuff if you want it, but not overwhelm you with too much of the technical stuff if that's not what you want. So I'm really just kind of nerding out on all the complicated stuff so that I can bring the more simplistic and information to you that you'll be able to understand from a standpoint of being aware of it and understanding it for the long term, so that again, once you start to see the results, you're able to maintain those results over time because you understand why you're doing what you're doing. You're not just being told, do this, but you're getting the why behind it. So that's really my goal with my coaching, is to give you the why, not just tell you what to do, and to educate you as much as possible, but only to the point where it's still beneficial to you and not overwhelming.